Okay, good evening. I'm calling this meeting, special meeting of the City Council to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bach.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Here.
Councilmember Reed. Vice Mayor West.
Yes.
Mayor and Council.
Here, thank you. And item number 2, public comment. Because this is a special meeting, we're limiting, public comment is limited to items on the agenda. Any public comment at this time? We will take public comment when we get some individual items up as well. So, does anybody have anything they'd like to speak to immediately? Yes. We will, when the agenda items come up, we will open for public comment. So when we get to the individual items, we will entertain public comment, sure.
Everything is on specific items.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so consent items. Yes, Rachel.
I do have a public comment. Could you explain to us why you were not able to meet last week?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So with our staff changes, I think with mass departure last week or the week before, our access to the website and making changes to the website was not very well understood. We didn't have a good handle on it. The agenda did not get posted on the city's website, and therefore we did not meet the requirements of the Brown Act. Did I get that right?
Yes, correct.
So the meeting was not properly noticed because the documentation, the announcement, posting was not made on the city's website. I apologize. I know it caused a lot of confusion, and I stayed here for people that came in not hearing, getting the word, and I am very sorry for the confusion, but I believe we've rectified that, and we don't expect that to be a problem in the future. That's why. And rather than waiting until next month to have a meeting, we decided to call a special meeting, which has slightly different rules, for tonight, so that we could get through there's a lot to get through, a lot of material that was important, so we wanted to do that. It does, though, eliminate 2 ordinances. We were not able to have the second reading of 3 ordinances that we were anticipating having the second reading and potentially adoption that can't be done at a special meeting. That can only be done at a regular meeting, so that those will have to be carried over till the November meeting. Okay? I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so consent items.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay. Mackenzie, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor West.
Yes.
Mayor Montalana.
Aye. Okay. Okay, so number 4, presentations, informational items, and reports. Okay. Let's see, we've got a couple of different things here. Bear with me, we've got a couple of different packets of information, or I have a couple of different packets of information. So I've got to do a little
Flip it around.
moving around here. Okay. Here's
There's nothing in there.
sorry.
There's nothing in there on 4A. Yeah. First item is LULAC on B.
Okay. There's nothing on that.
4A.
Nothing on 4A. 4B, Philanthropy Day. Do we have Beverly Meamber in the room? Beverly, how are you? Do we have this document?
So, Mayor, members of the council, I'm Beverly Amber, resident of San Juan. I currently chair the National Philanthropy Day Committee for the Community Foundation. And you are adopting a proclamation. The proclamation will be presented the night of the event, November the 15th, by Mayor Martorano, and along with the representatives from the city of Hollister and the county of San Benito. We already selected your recipients on behalf of the city, so thank you for all your support.
Thank you. Okay. And item C, proclamation honoring San Benito LULAC 30th anniversary. That one I have. Cesar, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A lot of work.
So, whereas San Benito County Council 2890 of the League of United Latin American Citizens was formed on October 17, 1987 as the first Latino civil rights organization in San Benito County and is a chapter of the largest and oldest Latino national membership organization in the United States. And whereas San Benito County LULAC has served as the home state council for a local state director, state youth president, and as the home council of the former national vice president of the Far West region. And whereas San Benito County LULAC encourages its members to uphold and defend the rights of the San Benito County Latino community and serves as a circle of influence and support. And whereas San Benito County LULAC formed a youth council on October 5th, 1989 and encourages youth participation in community and educational opportunity by providing scholarship grants to over 175 students, totaling $164,000. And whereas San Benito County LULAC formed a young adult council on February 10th, 2000, which includes students from San Benito County attending colleges and universities throughout California and in other states, of whom many have gone on to become professional individuals serving their communities. And whereas San Benito County LULAC believes that education is the foundation for cultural growth and development of community members and, therefore, has instituted student conferences and retreats for the purpose of youth development and leadership training. And whereas San Benito County LULAC has sponsored the after-school Young Reader program for the past 13 years, enabling over 380 kinder and third grade students and their parents to develop reading habits. And whereas San Benito County LULAC promotes voter participation by encouraging the Latino community to register to vote, participating in the electoral process of this community, and in defending Latino voting rights against violations. And whereas San Benito County LULAC encourages and supports San Benito County agencies and government bodies in their effort to assure the Latino population a voice in representing their needs and concerns. And whereas the San Benito County LULAC personifies the very best of community involvement as a Latino community-based organization. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the San Juan Bautista City Council that San Benito County Council 2890 of the League of United Latin American Citizens is hereby commended on its 30 years of exemplary civic involvement and support to the residents of this community and invites all residents to celebrate their accomplishments on October 28, 2017 by proclaiming the week of October 22nd through 29th as LULAC Week in San Juan Bautista. Signed, Christopher Martorano, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our work in the community is looking at our youth and where our future is. And when I say our youth, I mean all our youth. We start out as a Latino organization. We are a Latino organization, but we have non-Latinos that are state officers and presidents, and we don't discriminate. If you got the same focus that we have, which is our future, and educating our community, then you're on our side. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. D, Economic Development Corporation presentation of draft by speaking away.
Good evening, Mayor Martirana, members of the council, staff, neighbors of San Juan Bautista. My name is Christina Chavez Wyatt. I'm with Farmhouse Communications out of Hollister, and I'm here on behalf of the San Benito County Economic Development Corporation to present to you the draft 2017-2022 San Benito County Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, also known as a SEDS. This has been a project that was undertaken by the EDC 2 years ago, and it's taken 24 months to get to this point, partially because the Federal Economic Development Administration changed the way that they structured these SEDS reports in March of 2016, but also a primary goal of this project was to encourage and engage the community in consensus-based economic development strategy compilation. I would like to point out to the public and the folks online with CMAP is that all the materials, the draft report, PowerPoint slides, etc., are all available at businessinsanbenito.com. I could be reached at Christina with a K at businessinsanbenito.com or anytime on my phone, 831-524-0408. The purpose of my presentation today is provide you as brief as possible with an overview of the economic development strategy and to encourage your comments, etc., to be provided to the County Board of Supervisors on November 7th for hopefully for their adoption. As many people do know, but a lot of folks unfortunately don't, the Economic Development Corporation of San Benito County promotes economic growth and development in San Benito County, California through business attraction, retention, expansion, and creation while maintaining and preserving our agricultural land and rural environment, which I know is very important to San Juan Bautista. We're very happy to have San Juan Bautista and the San Juan Committee be represented on the board by Mr. Bob Quaid, who is here with us this evening. The Board of Directors of the EDC is currently chaired by Aaron Johnston of Granite Rock, Vice Chairman Gillian Enns of Steel Solutions, Secretary Andrew Shelton of Shelton Insurance, who's also an active member of the San Juan Bautista Rotary Club, and the Treasurer is Mary Hubble from Bianchi, Casavan, and Pope. Our SEDS project team is myself as the project lead consultant. My subcontractor is Mr. Wes Irvin, who is with Wes Irvin and Associates out of Sacramento. He is a consultant to the California Office of Local Economic Development, and he's the former Economic Development Director for Yolo County. A little about the process to create the SEDS. It was really launched by a local economic assessment program, and the findings and recommendations report were presented to council, and hard copies were presented in your informational binders. This was done in June of 2016. We also did a comprehensive strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats analysis and a countywide business survey with the County Workforce Development Board, including bringing in the regional representative for the Federal Economic Development Administration for orientation and tour and a meeting with the San Juan Bautista Strategic Planning Committee, of which we've discussed these items, including the SWOT analysis and the SEDS on 2 occasions. The EDC also hosted what's called a Economic Development for Local Officials training on January 25th, 2017 at San Juan Oaks. This process moving forward, again, I'm bringing this draft to you for review and comment with the hope of having adoption by the San Benito County Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, November 7th. With an overall goal of having an approved program so we can move forward to get some federal grants. A little bit of background, our county has not had a SEDS report since 2008, which means we have not been eligible for EDA funding, for economic planning, infrastructure, programs, etc. All of the communities and surrounding areas and other counties all have these SEDS. They've received hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from EDA to help them with job creation, business support, sustainability, and infrastructure. Also in your program is a list of several dozen SEDS committee members. SEDS committee is a diverse group of stakeholders, business, social and environmental justice organizations, community leaders, elected officials that were a part of the development of the SEDS. This committee is also moving forward going to need to be convening once a year to review the process of implementation of the SEDS and ensure that it's still current. Again, why are we having a SEDS? According to the implementation plan of the 2035 County General Plan, the county shall prepare, adopt, and periodically update an economic development strategy, which shall be an operational guide to implement the economic development goals and policies of the element of their general plan. This strategy also fulfills the Federal Economic Development Administration requirements for a strategy to receive grant funding. The strategy identifies industry-specific goals and actions that build on the existing agricultural economy and industries and clearly identify how the county will help achieve those goals via staff support, incentives, permit streamlining, enhanced collaboration, etc. In recognition of this, the EDC approached the county in 2015 to take on this task to help them implement their own general plan, and they received two funding allocations of $5,000 each in the 2015-16 and 16-17 budget cycles. The remainder was funded by the EDC board members led by Granite Rock. I'm going to skip through a little bit of these technical items. So some of the needs identified in the general plan and in our economic development strategy include, first and foremost, improved cooperation for joint economic development. Number two, create local jobs to reduce our commuting and to fill our industrial parks. To launch a formal business attraction campaign and get our data and opportunity sites in front of investors. To strengthen our tourism promotion, capitalizing on our history, our natural beauty, and everything specifically that San Juan Bautista has to offer. Retaining and growing our existing businesses, and aligning our training with employment providers. This strategy seeks to proactively address identified needs, create local jobs, stabilize and diversify our local economies, raise our local income levels, improve our quality of life, again, reduce our out-commuting while protecting the environment. Some unique demographics that we uncovered in doing an analysis for our community. One is that our county has approximately 60,000 residents, 61% of which, or approximately 37,000, live within the city of Hollister, and 4% within, or 2,200 residents of the city of San Juan Bautista. Our county is currently experiencing a very, very minor per year population growth, although we are anticipated to reach 73,000 residents by 2030. 52% of our population is a working age of 25 to 64, and poverty is lower. We do have fewer college degree earners, households are larger, housing prices are lower, but they do track with the region. Because, as you know, the influx of new home buyers of Silicon Valley, San Benito County has seen our household income increase from $65,771 to $71,077 during the period of 2006 to 2015. Median household income is anticipated to rise to $96,800 by 2020. The income effect of many residents working in the Silicon Valley has been seen in our figures within our program, within our strategy plan, which compares to income groups in California, San Benito County, Monterey, Santa Cruz counties. San Benito County compares favorably in the $50,000 to $150,000 income groups and has a lower percentage of residents below the poverty level. What's important to really note is the living wage in San Benito County is approximately $47,000. This is an issue because our housing prices are inflated by incomes from the Silicon Valley and also from the Salinas Valley. We have two economies. People that live here and may not be able to afford to leave here based on the San Benito County median wage, and it seems to be a challenge that should be at least acknowledged in our document. Also, the Department of Finance released income limits based on our used affordable housing and other assistance programs, and based on their data, our median income is $81,000 for a family of 4, which unfortunately makes us ineligible for a lot of state and federal programs because our median income is unfortunately too high. We know that growth from the outside is a cause of congestion on Highway 25, with approximately 7,500 workers outbound in the morning and inbound in the evening, plus another 1,200 reverse commuting to Gilroy. And on Highway 156, just outside of our door here, to Salinas and Monterey, we approximate about 3,000 out and 1,500 in every morning, and we know it's gotten a lot higher. It's straining our infrastructure, including our groundwater quality and our roads. It's leading to tax and services leakage, specifically in medical services, as Councilmember Westwell knows in his tenure on the hospital board. Our air quality is worsened, and the health, safety, and quality of life of our commuters is at risk. Retail and commercial development have become skewed towards serving commuters rather than serving our local businesses and residents. Our current unemployment is approximately 16,000 people, and is anticipated to increase to 20,000 or by 25% by 2035. Our farm employment is 11%, and that is very high, a lot higher than the state average, which is 2%. Our main economic clusters are agriculture, food processing, distribution, chemicals, and agricultural services, as well as our government, which is our largest employers in our education system. We do anticipate that approximately at least 50% of our employed residents are commuting outside of our county to work every day. This is more vehicle miles traveled and longer commutes than any of the communities in our region. So 8 five-year goals were established in this strategy. Those include, first and foremost, we need to act collaboratively and we need to bust our silos. Between the 3 local jurisdictions, the county and the cities, and the many economic development entities within the county, recognizing the important role of each of us in a thriving economy. We need to invest in job creation, local business development and attraction, including a promotion program to be led by the new staff of the Economic Development Corporation in 2018 and supported by other member and service providers. We need to invest in talent development, retention, and education. We need expanded collaborative engagement and program alignment by business, the Workforce Development Board, local schools, universities, and colleges, specifically Gavilan College. We need to improve our business climate and competitiveness by working effectively, efficiently, and utilizing timely customer service. We need to invest in infrastructure maintenance and growth, including transportation, broadband internet, housing opportunities, a diverse array of housing opportunities, cold storage, energy, water conservation, and wastewater treatment, as you well know. Also water quality. Support of an entrepreneurial culture, including supporting innovation and targeting small business services. We need to ensure our community safety and health, because a high quality of life requires adequate health services, crime prevention, safe structures, and emergency preparedness. And finally, we need to create economic resiliency to plan for and create the capacity to quickly recover from future economic downturns and from natural and environmental disasters. We have an aggressive 12-month action plan we're looking to launch as soon as possible. Those include expanding funding for economic development staff, housed at the EDC of San Benito County and funded by a number of entities. Options include general fund support, grants, and increased TOT tax. Possibly. Joint business retention, expansion, and attraction, including targeting industry recruitment and actively listening to the needs of our existing businesses. They need broadband, they need support for marketing, and studying the feasibility of a work-share telecommuting business incubation facility in Hollister and also in San Juan Bautista. We need to have collaboration, resource, and data sharing, including sharing best practices and filling the information gaps useful to job creation and improved business planning. We need to be teaming on improved permitting processes and infrastructure issues, including ensuring speedy approvals, good advanced processing and cost information for business, and forming red teams to solve problems with applicants and businesses that might be considering leaving. And finally, we need to develop and implement a more robust tourism marketing and promotion plan that's based on SMART goals that are accountable, that have metrics, including the wine trail, including a hospitality district in Hollister and within the region, and again, possibly increasing the TOT tax rate to help fund it, more joint promotion with local attractions, and again, metrics to evaluate effectiveness. We need to know how often our hotels are full, how often people are coming to our community and buying meals and visiting our retailers, and how much per room night our hotels are making. And all that we need to do is give them a call and get that data. It will be proprietary and kept in-house, but that's how we know when our promotion plans are working. There are a few good projects that were identified for Prosperity and Future Economic Development Administration joint grant funding opportunities. One is the development of this plan, studying the development of potential of our county's future commercial nodes, specifically at interchanges at 101 and 129, 101 and 156, and 152 and 156. We can do water and sewer expansion engineering studies. We can work on siting and expanding our industrial parks. We can work to fund and support agriculture industrial areas. We can do additional feasibility studies for hotels for our winery hospitality corridor and our commercial nodes. We can do a small business incubator with our workspace and telecommuting projects. And strengthening partnerships between all jurisdictions for job and workforce development. And we can also commission a tourism, eco, wine, agri-historical tourism impact study and development plan. Other SEDS chapters which are mandated by the federal government include an executive summary and a summary background, a full SWOT analysis, strategic direction and action and economic resilience plans that give less emphasis on projects and more emphasis on systems and planning. So the next steps for the SEDS, we're looking for review and adoption to the County Board of Supervisors, and we ask for your support in encouraging the county to do so, because I believe that our cities actually have the staff capacity and the political leadership to move forward most quickly with the EDA and the USDA to take advantage of these first grant opportunities. I did present the SEDS for review to the City of Hollister on the 16th, and we're here this evening for review and adoption. This is by no means your only chance to review and give commentary, ask questions. I would like to accept any that you have this evening, or we can meet offline at any time. And then following adoption by the county, we're presenting the Economic Development Administration this SEDS for their approval and adoption. They have already reviewed our draft SEDS. They said it's really solid as it's already been crafted. It's very basic and it has very good solid goals, but they would have really no problem with approving it. We will be reviewing and updating the SEDS and with our SEDS committee annually and providing annual performance reports to the county, to the EDA, and as requested by local jurisdictions, including your local committee here. In closing, I think it's very important, as you all know, that we all act collaboratively and be clear about who, what, and where we are. We are working on getting the community on board by having a common understanding about what economic development is and what it takes all of us to do to accomplish together. We all know that San Benito County, San Juan Bautista, and Hollister really are open for business, but there are some obstacles and relationships that we need to get through together. And most importantly, I think it's important to say that smart planning and collaboration helps us keep all the community that we fell in love with. It's always going to grow, it's always going to evolve, it's going to change. And it's because we love it so much that we may not necessarily like seeing it change, but we have to work to help it evolve together and have it work for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You spoke of adoption. I don't have anything. Are you looking for something formal from us?
Only the county, as the lead agency, does need to adopt a strategy. I'm just looking for comments, questions, any concerns you might have. Ideally, we'd like to receive an indication of support and encouraging the Board of Supervisors to move forward. They do have a little bit of concerns and questions. A lot of it's because they're barely working on starting to adopt their 2035 general plan, although it was approved 4 years ago. And we set some pretty aggressive timetables, et cetera. And the EDC and other organizations have reassured the county that we're not asking for increased funding from their general fund at this time. Possibly next year, when we can help to show them that we're able to bring in some funds, support some small business growth, and bring in some new employers to help grow their general fund. I do want to point out too that I do believe that this plan helps you to implement your own 2035 general plan, your economic development element, which asks for a vibrant, robust, and diversified local economy, a supportive and nurturing business climate, becoming a premier tourist destination, which I believe that you are, and having a sound agricultural sector that's a source of employment and economic growth.
Should just need a consensus of opinion.
Sure. Do you have any comments?
No, I mean, 30 years ago I worked on this thing. As I remember, see how well that worked out. As I remember, most of this council was on the team that did the interviews and all that stuff.
Oh, create the document.
Yes. So we're kind of somewhat familiar with it from that end. I noticed that you mentioned 4 times in your speech about broadband access, so I would, that's a pet project of mine too, so I think you know that. I'd love to work with the city of Hollister and the county to see what we can do to spiff up our speeds a little bit and maybe get another competitor in. There's models. Sonic in the North Bay and Cruise.io in Santa Cruz has models of, other than Comcast or Charter, of providing broadband internet access at reasonable rates.
I do. Broadband is also very important to a lot of interested parties, and it's a focus of our region with the Central Coast Broadband Consortium. Yeah, and you're connected with that, John. We do have this as a topic at our November 2nd San Benito County Business Council meeting at San Juan Oaks. Please let me know if you'd like to attend. I'll make sure we get a good head count in for lunch. But we have invited Charter Spectrum, the Broadband Consortium, AT&T, Razolink, and then the City of Hollister has 2 new ISPs that they're actually working with that are smaller, more startup companies, a little bit more resilient and can work on smaller projects, and we can introduce you there as well.
Put me down for November 2nd. Okay.
Tony, anything to add?
No, I think, we should recommend to the Board of Supervisors that they go along with this. I don't know if they have any money left to spend.
And we're not asking for it now. They might ask for it later, but I think we know that the county is very stressed economically, fiscally, and they haven't been contributing to the EDC since 2011, and a lot of it's because they haven't had the capacity to do so. They also have very limited ability with their current staff to take on any additional tasks because a lot of them are doing the work of 4 people. We do have a new RMA director from the County of Monterey, John Gurton. He gets it. And they could really help us with just some technical data we need to move to the EDA and help them staff up and work with us.
I'm 100% in support. I think this is a great document, and I was very pleased with the results.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think it's a great document. You have improved permitting process and infrastructure. Good luck.
Yeah.
Because you got sequence, we don't have any control over that.
Do we have any public comment? this item. No, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Are we moving on? Treasurer's report. I don't think we have Chuck here.
I'll see Chuck.
Ed? Shall we?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Chuck and I have reviewed the treasurer's report, and as you know, we regularly report to you on the actual results for a quarter. The results in general are very good. I can say that at the last meeting, you retained our auditing firm, and they'll begin the audit next month. And it is my intention to bring to you a 6-month mid-year budget review with the goal of not revising the budget so much, but changing the presentation in a way to make it more clear and helpful for policymakers and transparent for the community.
Great. Fantastic.
Got a couple of questions on the warrant list.
I figured you would.
Okay, you know me, I go through this thing. Dad, what is C, E, and G for $66,000?
It's on the second page, about 3/4 of the way down.
I apologize, I'm still finding my way through the agenda packet. Is it in 4?
It's, in the budget packet, it's like the last 2 pages, or almost the last 2 pages of the
Treasurer's report.
It's behind that, what you're flipping through.
Well, I had an annotated version, I don't now, so Ms. Mall has let me share hers, C, E, and G for $6,151. Offhand, I do not recall.
Okay, Epic International for $20,000.
Is that party? I'm just kidding.
Oh, good.
I'm just kidding.
Members of the council, I wonder if you can give me the chance to keep leafing through my agenda packet and then come back to it later. I had an annotated version
Okay.
that, ready for last week.
Can we hold those
Sure,
over?
no problem.
Don't worry.
You know me and the warrant list.
Yeah, well, the warrant list is really long this month. And really big. And so the warrant list is checks that the city's written, and they total $307,000, which is double sort of what we normally would see.
And that is strictly a function that there were 3 accounts payable runs in that month, rather than 2.
Yeah, so it's,
October's a long month.
I came in and saw Chuck and Ed going through it, and having a lot of fun running through those numbers the other day. Okay, so we're going to come back to the treasurer's report. Sheriff's report. I don't think we have anybody from the sheriff's department. Oh my God! How are you?
I see everybody doing this one.
Welcome, how are you? Good, how are you? We just came to the sheriff's report.
So I'm happy to follow the treasurer's report. That's awesome. So I missed everybody. Thank you for having me back. So I just wanted to touch on a few issues, and Ed and I met when he first got here and discussed some stuff with our office and how we can better service the community. And I will tell you that for our hours, our contracted obligation is 168 hours a month. This is something we go over each quarter. And to be transparent, we came up short in July by 5 hours. In August, we were over 23, and then we were short again 44 in September. So we were at we had a deficit of 26 hours. So I'd like to give you a lot of excuses as to why that happened, but I'm not going to do that. I will tell you that there are a lot of positions right now, and I know we come in here and we talk about staffing and we talk about, limited resources, and those don't make anybody feel any better, but I do have 6 positions that should be on the street that are currently out. So they're trickling back in, so that's helping, but I do know that with only a couple guys per shift, and then people, when they just actually call in sick, when we're calling people in on overtime. It is stretching us pretty thin right now. That could happen in September. So again, I've tried to keep tabs on that and keep an eye on it, make sure that we're fulfilling our obligation. One of the things that we kind of stopped doing was putting the deputy here on overtime hours each weekend. So I may have to revisit that, and some of that came from the fact that I have to staff patrol on overtime now. So because we're so short-staffed on patrol, I'm having to use overtime allotted money just to have cars on the street. So that should change here pretty soon once I can I have 2 guys coming out of the academy on the 2nd of November. They graduate. So that'll be about a 16 to 20 week program of training. The Board of Supervisors approved for me today to bring a deputy back that was previously laid off. And so he will be coming back to our county from a neighboring county. A local guy who knows the area, who can just hit the ground running. So that's really good. I have a recruitment on the 11th of November at the high school for entry level, which we'll be looking to. Some of the staff that's out right now on medical leave may not be returning. So we're waiting for those things to kind of work their way through the system, and then we'll be having a list. Hopefully, my plan is to have a list ready to go so we're not playing catch up if those people don't come back, so that we have a pool of candidates to choose from to get them back on the street. And we still have an open recruitment for lateral and academy graduates, which is ideal for a county like ours because we don't have to wait for the academy process, which is about 6 months. And it's an unknown risk, putting someone through the academy. So hopefully we'll get our staffing up to par here pretty soon. And with that, with the allotted positions that we have, if I can get them staffed up, then we can revisit what our coverage can be here. And I'll be doing that with all of you and Ed as well. I will report that a couple weeks ago, the White House designated our county a HIDA county, which is a high-intensity drug trafficking area. What does that mean? It doesn't mean we're in any danger. It's about funding and access to training and equipment. So you're going to be shocked to know that our office doesn't have a lot of covert equipment. We also don't teach our own training. Training comes with a cost. So historically, we've had Gilroy and Morgan Hill police departments as part of our narcotics task force here. In 2014, they both withdrew and went back into the South Bay Metro HIDA, which is Santa Clara County's own version of a HIDA county. So we've been working for the last 6 months or so with the people from, it's called the Northern California Regional Information Center, we call it NICRIC. But they've been helping us with their analysts to draft up a plan for us to be designated our own county because we're surrounded by HIDA initiatives. We never had our own, and they have taken care of us very well in the gap of 2014 to now. Santa Clara County's been really, really good to us, We're still affording us opportunities to send our people to training. We're still trying to get us our own equipment. We may or may not see some one-time funding from the federal government. That's still to be determined, but we will have access to things. I know it's outside the city limit, but I know we've had some issues on the De Anza Trail. We can have some covert systems to be able to put out there on the trail, do things like that free of charge to our county. So it's really a big deal for us. It's nothing to say that all of a sudden now we have something to worry about because we're this high-intensity county. We always have been. We've just been attached to another initiative, and now we have our own. I want to speak a little bit on the jail expansion project that we have going on. That's been kind of kicked around quite a bit the last few years. It's been going over 10 years. And it's raised some questions about why we're doing it. I will tell you that our jail population is pretty much at capacity, and it has been for a number of years. The issue is when we go over capacity. Over capacity is frowned upon, to put it nicely. We don't want to have people on the floor, on concrete floors. We don't want to have people that aren't being treated humanely. So this jail expansion project's been going on since Sheriff Hill was here. And we broke ground on that project within the last couple weeks. We should have an 18-month window of opening our new. It's going to take the jail, it's going to increase our beds, I think, by about 72 beds. Right now we're 142. So it'll increase it quite a bit. It'll also provide us the ability to do programming in custody for rehabilitation, which currently we're lacking. So it's a positive thing. It's not just about putting in more jail cells to put more people in jail. It's about rehabilitation and just treating people humanely. So we're working on that. I touched on the deputy recruitment. An ongoing thing here that we've talked about, touched on briefly, is a conversation about what to do here with animal control. I know it's not a huge issue, but it's been brought up a couple times recently about animal control, so I think that's an ongoing conversation that staff can have with our office and with our county and try to figure out how we can try to get to the bottom of that. And if you have any questions on the report, this is my first go at the new records management system. I've been promising you since 2014 it was going to have all kinds of cool stuff. So we're still working out the kinks. Data conversion's not super easy, and we're still working through the reporting stuff, but there was some cool colors and charts that I put in there.
Yes, sir.
What's a BCS code part 2?
So I had that written down on my packet for last week on the back, which I don't have this week. Part 2 crimes.
Got a lot of those.
So part 2 crimes are going to be your simple assaults, your petty thefts, non-violent. They're the less serious crime. So when we report to the FBI, and we report under the BCS codes, there's 9 different areas that we report, and part 2 is kind of like the big lump of all the stuff that's not really exciting, I guess to say. But that's going to be more of what you see. It's more of the fraud, petty theft, vandalism, things that I know are important, but as far as prioritizing in the BCS codes, they fall into a different category than aggravated assault, rape, homicide, assault of deadly weapon. Those would be part 1 crimes.
TC?
Traffic collision.
Okay.
And again, some of these are not real great right now because we put it, but we did a data conversion of our historical data from a different system, which translated over kind of great, right? So really, what started going in fresh was as of June 1st, which falls into this range, but it's such a small section to really do like an analysis with. That's why those charts don't look super great right now.
Yeah, no, that's okay. At least we're setting the benchmark. Now we can start collecting the data, and we can start using the data to adjust how we address it.
And some of these too are going through some hiccups. So what I did is I made, well, I didn't make the city limits of San Bautista, but I made the city limit its own area. So we've had that conversation before about Beat 3, Area 19. So in our records management system, to be able to pull data out, the deputies have to click and check a box for City of San Bautista.
Okay.
So in some of these numbers are not the City of San Bautista.
Okay.
Because what the deputies have been used to is San Bautista as a beat or an area,
Right.
which could include the outlying areas all the way up to Anzar, San Juan Canyon. Some of those numbers are in here right now, so I'm trying to clean that up. But as we learn and as we go forward, when I pull the numbers for the City of San Bautista, it should be just your numbers within the city limits here in town. It should be nice and clean. It's just a learning process for us.
So on the next page, it says top 10 streets.
Yeah.
The last one, is that Mission Vineyard or is that other? The colors are, maybe I'm getting old or something, but the colors are getting older.
We're talking about broadband a little while ago, right?
Yes.
We're talking about copiers.
Okay.
So other streets, that's just, again, this will look a lot better once we get a lot more data into the system. But that last one just lumped in everything else.
Okay.
So what happened in this context for this quarter, not on the other streets that are listed, everywhere else. And that, for right now, that's also including...
So everywhere else is a high crime area, right? Yeah.
Correct. There's a lot more going on everywhere else. So you can see, like, the Alameda, there's 8 cases there, right, for 3 months. So everywhere else, you're talking about 18 cases everywhere else for 3 months. So it looks a lot different on the chart, but that's why.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But I at least want to give you a look, it's a feel, and as we go through it, we'll figure out what other... This program has so much that it's able to do, but it's only as intelligent as the user, right? So that's why these aren't great right now. But as I learn, it'll make a lot more sense, and we'll be able to pull out a lot more data that's going to be a lot more helpful.
Well, once you become more familiar, maybe we can come over and take a look.
Absolutely.
And talk about how we can tweak this for.
Sure.
For our more.
And it's nice also, so it's also a very good thing because now we're regionalized. So all the Monterey, pretty much all the Monterey County agencies, us, I mean, the biggest thing for us is we're connected now with the Hollister Police Department, which is the population center of our county, right? So we now have access to all their records. So when we do analysis, it's a lot nicer to be able to tie it to people that live within the city, which before we were in our own silos.
Gotcha.
And now we're all regionalized all the way down to King City. They're going to be expanding to the Bay Area. And then we've also brought our jail management system on with the same company. So now our jail system talks to our record system. So it's just overall regionalization is just the way to go for data-driven policing, and we're heading that direction.
Great. Tom?
When you say about this cooperation in Hollister, are you getting anything from our private security patrol?
I have a great relationship with JT. We communicate all the time. We've had nothing but positive interactions with the guards. They're doing exactly what we would want them to do, which is observe and report. JT keeps me apprised of what's going on. So from our standpoint as the sheriff's office, I've been thrilled with them.
Oh, good.
I think it's been really good partnership for us. And you're talking about some deputies with tried and true ways that are used to things a certain way and not used to really having a collaboration with the security company. And it's been seamless. It's been really good.
Good. Well, that's good. Glad to hear that. Anything else, Sean?
I have one question, not related to these charts or anything, but I learned recently that the post office here in San Juan was broken into, I believe it was Sunday, and so I know that like messing or tampering with the mail is like a federal crime, so is there jurisdiction issues? What happens here? Do you guys go investigate the post office or I'm asking what and why and how.
Well, it's a great question because I'll tell you what, it's a question that was just raised within our office within the last month. So I'm used to collaborative policing in my former life, right? So I worked in a place where everybody really worked well together. Here, I think we are lacking in that. We have been historically lacking that. I've been transparent, I think, with the council here and told you that, where I think we need to improve. So, for me, we had a very good case of a mail theft out in a different part of the county, out in the Cienega Road area, where luckily the homeowner had a really cool wireless camera system that activated their phone, and we got footage of it happening, and everything was perfect. The deputies were in the right place. It was the planets lined up correctly, and we got them, right? And we got them, and they had mail from 28 different victims in 3 different counties. So I walk in, and I have some deputies who are a little overwhelmed with that, right? That's a pretty big caper. And they had a gun that they pitched, and they fled, and they had some other dope in the car. They had some other stuff going on. But now we have potentially 28 victims of identity theft in 3 counties, right? So that's a big thing for our small office. So I said, well, let's call the postal inspectors, which was like foreign language here. And so I did that. We went down to the local post office in Hollister, and I talked to the postmaster who put me in touch with the current postal inspector out of San Jose. And what a lot of people don't understand is like, they love that. That's their thing. The reason that they are postal inspectors is because they want to work those cases. So for jurisdiction, what I want to tell you is that for our office, and I speak for the sheriff, we are here to do any case. I don't care if it's on the De Anza Trail, which may or may not be, I know it's on the city, but it's affected with your residents. But it may or may not be federal property or state property. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is helping people that have been victimized or helping people that are having a problem. Same thing with the post office. There was some weird, strange stuff going there. We had a vandalism, followed by some messing around with the locks, followed by a bunch of missing stuff from within the facility, right? So what we did is we took an initial report, like I want our people to do. I don't want them to tell you, and this is one thing we talked about recently, like what I don't want to have happen is for them to say, we can't help you, call somebody else. So what I want our deputies to do is help you. So we did the initial investigation, but now we brought in the postal inspectors, and they're actually handling the case from here on out. It doesn't mean we can't do it. They're better at it. So in order to get to the bottom of it, we brought them in. So with that, probably that was a long-winded answer.
But it was appreciated. I learned quite a bit, so.
Sure. Good.
Any other questions, gentlemen, from the public?
There's some public questions.
Okay, what do we got?
Step back.
Bill Welch.
Members of the council, my name is Bill Welch. I'm a resident of San Juan Bautista. A little disappointed not having an open forum tonight, but this is regarding the sheriff's report that I had filed. If you allow me just a minute to give you a little backstory to the sheriff's report, I'd appreciate it. Up until the 6th of October, this was our family pet, 15-pound pug, 4 years old, beautiful little girl, very playful, grandchildren miss her terribly. She was viciously attacked by my neighbor's dogs. Today all I have left are her ashes and a $5,000 vet bill. I reported the incident to Animal Control. Of course, they referred me to the Sheriff's Department. Called the Sheriff's Department. They said, well, Officer Kness, who took the report, apologized for my loss, but said that it's not an area of their expertise. It's not an area they really normally dabble in. So he would do the best he could do of taking a report over the phone. He didn't come out to investigate, just that I'll do the best, I'll take the report over the phone. So they did that incident report. A little frustrated with that. Went back, called Animal Control again, said, okay, this is what's happening. Got these vicious dogs running the streets. The very next day after my dog had died, they're still running the streets. I'm for fear I'm not even letting my grandchildren play in the backyard without adult supervision now because of these dogs. Dogs have been running the streets for a couple of years. They're still running the streets. The owners don't seem to care. I've already talked to them and we've had our words. They don't seem to care. No accountability. So the Animal Control, as I did call them back again, they referred me back to the city council. They said, well, there's nothing we can do. You need to talk to your city council. So I urge you, as a body of government here to try and come up with some sort of solution. Since Animal Control or Sheriff's Department can't come up with a solution, I would hope that maybe you could come up with a solution to keep our citizens safe from these vicious dogs that are running the streets. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. She gave you my card?
Yes.
Would you please call me tomorrow?
I will do that.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I agree.
I don't understand what the ask was.
To come up with animal control. We don't have any animal control in the city.
We don't have any animal control in the city.
Animal control jurisdictions are limited to the city of Hollister.
There's additional public.
There are additional public.
Okay, do we have more?
Yeah.
Please.
Bob Quaid.
Bob Quaid, 160 Lang Street. I didn't know Bill was going to come to speak tonight, but I was speaking on the same subject because I saw Bill the next day after his dogs were killed. And I can't understand why the Sheriff's Department, maybe the Sheriff can comment on it, why they can't come out and take a report when two vicious dogs attack and kill another dog. Do those dogs have to come out and kill a child before the Sheriff's Department will investigate? It just seems, I just can't understand it, why the Sheriff's Department can't come out and do an investigation and at least talk to the owners of those dogs, because they are running out in the streets, and I fear for myself, my daughter walking her dog, and anybody walking a dog, and I think Jolene's going to talk on the same subject too.
Thank you.
We have Rachel Ponce on the same subject. Sorry, Jolene.
That's okay. I put my name last.
Rachel Ponce. The time has come for San Juan Bautista to be assertive and proactive of its safety needs. If there is a clause in the contract with the city and sheriff dealing with traffic issues, the city should aggressively insist that the sheriffs comply. If there isn't anything in the contract, then there really should be. We need the sheriff to issue traffic tickets to curb the disregard of our city traffic laws. The city must insist to the sheriff to be aggressive in keeping us safe. Some present and past council people have said sheriffs frown on issuing traffic tickets. I think they should be more concerned about the negative image of hanging out at the cemetery. Direct sheriffs to find a shady spot and park on 4th Street. Their presence alone would deter the speeding drivers. We need the sheriffs to be aware and more sensitive about our safety needs. Sheriff Thompson has to have a community meeting here to hear firsthand the concerns residents have that are affecting our safety and quality of life for the community as a whole. Perhaps that could motivate him to write a grant dealing with traffic like Hollister Chief Westrick recently received for $70,000. Traffic safety is a real concern in the area. Even Aromas is having issues with speeding drivers. Working on getting Sheriff here to hear us. Please have him come. He hasn't been here since the first time he ran for office. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Mackenzie,
We have Jolene.
It's you. There's a running at large prohibition in the city code and the city manager.
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lane
Of course
Street.
it's-
Rachel
there's
was
no
absolutely
townmaster.
correct about not only the speeding on 4th Street, but parking so that you're blocking the view of
Running at
sidewalks, of crosswalks, is so dangerous. And even our fire trucks do it, so that I guess should be under the fire truck report. But at any rate, I'm extremely concerned about these 2 German Shepherds. I have
Here it is, running at large.
reported them to the city numerous times. They've attacked my dog 3 times. Luckily, she's a lot bigger than the pug and was able to fight back. Once she was in my driveway off leash. Once she was in the neighbor's backyard who were taking care of her. And once, again, she was with the neighbors on a leash. And the neighbors got rid of one of the 2 German Shepherds. It was not the more aggressive, more vicious one.
5-7.
And they constantly have more pups. In fact, they've gotten another nearly grown white German Shepherd now, if there is such a thing. It's white and they call it a German Shepherd. The vicious one is a red German Shepherd. I didn't know they came in different colors. But at any rate, we've had every code enforcement person at City Hall, we've had 3 different ones, write them letters, and I believe all the letters were followed up. Dogs still run loose. They'll keep them in for a couple of days, and then they'll start letting them out again. In the case of when they killed the pug, they were out again right away. They took no responsibility for it. Your dog came over to our yard. Yeah, the pug got out of his yard and came over to your yard. That's why the fence was lifted up on his side when the kid went over there to get his dog out of the yard after it had killed the pug. That's what I think happened, and that's what the evidence shows happened. These dogs are vicious, and I know we've talked about animal control. We talked about animal control when I was on council. We decided we couldn't afford it, but it's just getting completely out of hand, and I actually thought that animal control in Hollister would handle a vicious dog, or the sheriff's department would handle a vicious dog, because this is truly a vicious dog, In fact, when I was coming back from talking to this neighbor about his pug, one of the other neighbors told me that her dog had also just been attacked, and the shepherd had it in its mouth. This is police report.
Jolene, we got the message. We're going to hold you.
Well, you've been getting the message for 3 years now about those dogs.
Okay. Do we have any other public comment?
We have Jackie Morris, about the post office Berkeley.
Thank
So
you.
it's still a sheriff's.
Would you please hit the timer?
Yes, it's on.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'll make it really brief. Jackie Morris on Mission Street. And yes, I think that the animal control issue needs to be addressed. It's been an issue for several years. And needs some kind of agreement or relationship needs to be opened up with the county if we can't provide it. We used to have dog catcher, we used to have police. Anyway, what I'm speaking on is to the post office burglary. And I was contacted yesterday during my work hours on my cell phone from an unidentified, unknown number, and I wouldn't answer it the first time, and then the second time I answered it actually was the postal investigator from San Jose, and they were reaching out to individuals that had packages delivered during the suspected robbery or burglary date on Sunday, October 15th, and I wasn't even aware of it. I mean, I don't go to the post office every day. I'm a commuter. I work out of the area, so I often just, do stuff online. And so that was the first I heard of it. So I think there needs to be a better communication of, the entity of the Postal Service with, I don't know who, staff, sheriff. I don't know how that needs to be tied in, because my concern is the package that supposedly got missing was my sister-in-law returning some stuff that we left behind that I didn't really care to have. But I'm just thinking, what if they started getting letters that you can steal your identity? And then just the whole story that got relayed to me by this investigator was that they reported it, the alarm went off, the crime site was compromised because of our entities not going down there in a timely fashion and securing the thing. So basically they couldn't pull prints. Hopefully the Postal Service has cameras, but I just think that the city needs to be aware of this, and we need to do something better to protect our safety. I mean, come on, stealing stuff from the post office, there's a lot of information there that could be compromised. Thank you.
Thank you. Mackenzie, do we have any other?
That's it on this subject.
Okay. If you'd like to, please.
Okay, so let me go through a few things. Not really clear about the post office question, other than we are working collaboratively with the Postal Inspector's Office. We have been in communication with them. We cannot comment, and I know people don't like to hear that, but we can't comment on ongoing criminal investigations, so I can't tell you what evidence there is, what evidence there isn't. I will tell you that in each of the calls to the post office, we responded directly there. I will tell you, it's not that sensitive, that there was no signs of forced entry at all, so you can draw your own conclusions to that, which is why we're involving the Postal Inspector's Office, because they need to look internally. Okay? So that's what they're doing, and they're going to be reaching out to people, which I think they should be doing. And the nice thing about the postal inspectors is they will investigate every part of it. The theft, the identity theft protection. It's a federal agency. They have a lot more resources for that, and they do a good job. It's just, identity theft is, I didn't know this, but it's a huge thing what the postal inspectors do, and they do it well. So hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that. So, I will tell you, being in law enforcement in my 18th year now, in the absence of anybody having an answer, everyone looks to the law enforcement community to be the ones to handle it, right? So, I have pets. I have dogs, I have cats, I have some rabbits, I have children. And I love my pets. I love my pets to death. And I know that abuse to animals elicits a lot of emotion in people, and it's not easy for us to deal with either. But if we're going to talk in a legal sense, and what I have to explain to people often, the easiest thing for law enforcement to do is to take somebody to jail or remove a problem. But that's not always the legal option. The legal option is not always to put handcuffs on someone and take them away, and the legal option in this case is not to seize somebody's property, which in the criminal justice system, a pet or an animal is viewed as property. though I feel like they're part of my family, the criminal justice system doesn't hold the same views that I do about my animals. So there is not a mechanism for us in the sheriff's office right now to seize an animal. We can't destroy an animal. There's no legal remedy for us to destroy a domesticated animal. We dispatch animals often, which is like a deer hit by a car or a fox that's injured. We will dispatch, shoot those animals, but we do not have legal authority to ever dispatch a domesticated animal. So we can't seize them. We can't dispatch them. The remedy there is always an administrative hearing through animal control and through the city. The city where I used to work, there's an administrative process called a vicious dog hearing. It's an administrative process where the government can seize somebody's property. We can't do that. The easiest thing for us to do, and what probably often we would like to do, is go out there and remove the problem so that nobody has to be victimized by that anymore. But we also have to operate within some very strict confines of the law, which doesn't allow us to always do what the easiest or most logical option sounds like. So in the absence of animal control in this city limit, and I've tried, I've worked with the city of Hollister, and I think one of the, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead and finish up.
I've talked to the city of Hollister. So the county of San Benito contracts with the city of Hollister for animal services. That's great if we're in the county. That contract does not piggyback animal services to come to the city of San Bautista by means of the sheriff's office contract. I tried it, promise. There's one case I'm trying to work on that's non-vicious, but I can't make it happen. But it's not for lack of effort, though I'm sure it seems that way because we've been having this discussion for a number of years. So we're sensitive to it, and I understand that. Do we want it to get to a point where somebody's injured? Absolutely not. But in the legal confines that we have, there has to be some type of administrative action. It's non-criminal.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Mayor and members of the council, I had a quick opportunity to review the city's vicious dog ordinance. We do have such an ordinance here. I'm familiar with those kinds of ordinances. I've held many administrative hearings myself in other communities. The issue is we do not have, as Mr. Taylor indicated, we do not have a contract with animal control services. So getting the people to impound the dog is the issue. We don't have a contract with them. I have spoken with the city manager in the city of Hollister about specific individual cases, not this one, I will now do so, about how we might get one-off assistance from them to deal with individual cases. And if we have identified a vicious dog or dogs as defined in our ordinance, we have the legal authority to seize them, to hold the hearing, and at the conclusion of that hearing, make a determination as to whether the dog ought to be destroyed or not. That is within the city ordinances here in the city of San Juan Bautista. It's just a matter of not having heretofore the labor and the manpower to follow up on those things. But now we know about a specific case, I think I can perhaps get the assistance of the city of Hollister. It's going to cost us something, but it's not a year-long contract.
Thank you. So what should we do then, Ed, at this point? What's your recommendation?
Well, the council could ask the city manager to review this whole issue and to take such steps as are necessary to address the issue. And I think it's an administrative matter unless I need to come to you and ask for some money.
So do you want me to make a motion to do that, or?
I don't think we need it.
Okay.
It's an administrative issue.
Yes.
It's within your purview, I believe.
Yes.
Well, then I would like you to do it. Yeah.
What's that, John?
I'd like him to pursue that.
I would second that motion.
And so, just briefly, I don't mean any of the comments in a business tone to come off as being insensitive to anybody. I empathize with everybody. I empathize with the loss. We can always be doing things better. And so, on that, I'm also empathetic to the statement about deputies being up in the cemetery. You want to have me fly out of my chair, let me know that that's still happening so we can try to handle that. Traffic control in this city has been an issue for some time. A lot of that is due to staffing and the model of policing that we have here. Everybody needs to remember, we have 25% coverage, which means 75% of the time we're not here. That's not a nice thing to say, but we randomize our patrols to try to do the best we can. So I have an ongoing effort. I've worked with the Highway Patrol, who now has a new commander, who I will reach out to again for some collaboration in the city. The former commander, as I don't know, Chris, if you were part of that with Roger, but was just not interested at all. So, but we can revisit that now.
So I would encourage you to speak to JT. Part of their observation has been location for those sorts of infractions, and there's a couple of spots that would be
ideal,
extremely productive in terms of ticketing.
Got it.
I mean, they're very, very obvious to some of us.
And there was, as far as the cemetery, and that, I go up there every day, and I have my guys working up there, and we haven't seen a deputy taking a nap, I'd say, or whatever, back there. They were behind the VFW, and they haven't been there for, so I don't...
So we've identified some hiding spots in the past, and I'm trying to stay on top of it, right? So the point...
I will say this, in response to those people, I haven't seen anybody, any of the deputies parked up there in months.
And I don't want anybody to stop bringing those things forward, because even if it's perception, we need to clear that up. If it is happening, I need to stay on top of it, and our patrol sergeants need to stay on top of that, so we will do that. And we'll work on the traffic enforcement as well. We're always open to do things better.
Anything else from council?
Oh, and last thing, maybe I can work with you to schedule a meeting, some type of meeting for, it was talked about. I'm open to that anytime. Okay? Except right now, because I'm leaving. All right.
Okay. Okay. Moving right along. Level 1 security report. Do we have any questions on the report? Questions, comments, no, anything, anyone? Okay. We have no fire chief's report. The library report. Anything? Moving right along. Administrative report.
Mayor, members of the council, I've provided for you simply a list of the projects I've been working on over the past 4 or 5 weeks here, in no particular priority order, and I now realize not even comprehensive, but mainly getting up to speed, and you've identified a number of projects you want to keep moving, and I'm working on those, and later on the agenda we'll talk some more about some of those. And I'm prepared to come back to the treasurer's report and answer Mr. Bach's questions about the warrant list, if it's appropriate to do that.
Sure. That sounds good.
Okay.
Tony?
Yeah.
So you asked, Mr. Bach asked about EPIC. EPIC is the vendor for the 3 new aerators at the sewer plant. Those are within the adopted budget, which included not just the purchase of the aerators, but its installation. Bracewell is going to be renting a crane and installing the aerators for us.
So they haven't been there that long. I got the impression from the Bracewell operator that those had been sitting there for a year.
Not a year. Weeks, I think.
Okay, so that was...
And the bill just came due.
Yeah, well... a little dramatic.
I have a half response for your other question. CENG is a geotechnical firm, and I could speculate about all the geotechnical work that we have accomplished, but I don't know what precisely this bill was for.
Probably a reimbursable.
But I will look into it and provide a response for the council.
And maybe I forgot or something, but did we give Rosa House organization $7,500?
You provided $7,500 in the budget for the historic walking tour project, and Rosa's House is the fiscal agent for that.
All right. And then the last one I had a question on was Thomas and Associates for $9,500. The bad thing about this is I usually sign these checks.
That was for a submersible pump at the Lang Street lift station.
The trip stop sidewalk repair, is that going to be ongoing, you know?
I think it's an annual program. Trip Stop is a firm that does sidewalk repair. Our insurance pool pays half the costs, and they come in through once a year, essentially.
Gotcha.
Our city staff is actually doing some sidewalk grinding this week in preparation for the Make a Difference Day.
Oh, great. Yeah, my observation in walking around is around the library, it's particularly bad.
I noticed the same too, and I think they're working on those. Those on their list.
Great. Okay, any other questions on the treasurer's report? Okay, moving right along. Reports from council, committee reports. John, you have any reports?
Well, I did go to the AMBAG meeting 2 weeks ago. They spent most of their time in closed session on money for their personnel, but they are very proud that they won an award at the last League of Cities convention for excellence in transportation planning. So they're rather jazzed about themselves right now.
Yeah, as far as COG goes, I was approached by a couple of citizens about the K rails on the Sargent Bridge, that I call it, and I asked Caltrans, and it's a temporary thing until they can get in there and repair the actual guardrails. And then...
This is on 101.
101, yeah, Sargent Bridge. I'm sorry, I thought everybody knew where Sargent Bridge was. Anyways, if you're watching on TV, Caltrans is going to fix those barriers one of these days. And then there's going to be quite a bit of paving going on in the county, but 156 looks like it's going to start possibly in January of 2018, possibly. A really weird thing came up. They're looking for more funding, and they applied for a grant from the federal government. So, anyhow, Caltrans is
a large project for
right from the Alameda to Union Road.
That would be the 4 lanes. Okay.
Right.
Because I know that there was a grant given to them, I think it was from the federal government, because that's considered a transit corridor. It's kind of a trucking issue thing.
Well, that's our step, but it's called a Tiger Grant, and they applied for a $14 million grant to apply towards the highway. So, kind of discomforting in a way that we thought the money was all lined up.
It was at one time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We want to go down that rabbit hole.
No.
I don't have anything. Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah. LAFCO, we're doing the same thing with hooking up residents are outside the sphere of Hollister into the septic system, and we are changing the rulings on it to make that automatic.
Okay. I'm sorry. Looking at the audience, we need to go back to your administrative report because there's some discussion about meritage and issues with the Rancho Vista development, and I think there's probably a few folks here that would like to address the council. Maybe you can give us a little overview of what's transpired in the last week or so in terms of the complaint and actions to address those complaints.
Over the course of the past 2 weeks, I would say, I've become aware, and no doubt council members have become aware, perhaps others, of complaints and concerns from neighbors about construction activity at the Rancho Vista subdivision. They include concerns about groundwater pumping. They include erosion control. They include noise from vibration and construction activity and the construction start times. The one individual who expressed concern about groundwater pumping, I hope I was able to, I don't know if she's here tonight, Marta, but I was able to explain that to her. It was not a significant issue while they were pumping and testing the percolation capacity of their drainage basin. With respect to erosion control, the project is subject to a stormwater pollution prevention program. And it is granted by, administered by, and inspected by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And pursuant to that plan, the subdivider and the contractor have to take steps during the winter to protect erosion into adjoining properties. They've begun to do so with hydro seeding of the exposed banks, and they're doing so in accordance with their SWIP, the so-called SWIP. With respect to vibration, noise, there was, I frankly don't know whether it's continuing today. There has been activity where they were using a generator to energize pumps that were pumping water from the creek in order to allow them to build the bridge piers. That was, again, pursuant to permits from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And in order to dewater the site, they needed to pump it 24 hours a day. That obviously created noise. The contractor has advised me of their awareness of the citizen complaints and that they have taken steps to minimize the noise through a muffler system, and they're exploring temporary power to avoid the need for a generator in any event. With respect to the construction start times, this has been an ongoing issue, and I personally have had communication with them on 3 occasions to remind them, and they've said, yes, we know, and we'll do better. But every time there's a new subcontractor on site, they need to be reminded. And one of the things that later on I previewed, later on the agenda, we're proposing a contract with an engineering services firm, and they will provide our construction inspector services. And we, the city, will have people on site to monitor the conditions of approval as well as to inspect the public improvements. And so we'll be doing a better job of monitoring these concerns that have been brought forward.
Who will do that?
Later on the agenda, I'm proposing that be Harris Consulting Engineers.
Okay. Do we have public comment? Mr. Hopper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the opportunity as your planning commissioner chair to meet with Ed earlier this week, and I expressed many of the concerns that have been outlined here, and I have great confidence that Ed will follow up on these. I think that there had been, I shared this with Ed pretty openly, a violation of public trust, because some of the information was not getting forward to us, and I feel really confident that Ed will take care of these. I think, Ed, we discussed all the issues, including all the complaints we know about to date, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And I've also encouraged him to contact me until we have the engineering firm in place. So I feel really confident that the city of San Juan Bautista and Ed has control of this issue.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this? Questions, comments, concerns? Do we have anything on here? No? Okay. The timer?
Yeah. So I was just wondering the substantial change to Phase 7, if that was being addressed by the city attorney, or
we have
the road and the 2 lots.
Pardon me?
The road and the 2 lots on Phase 7.
Sure. It is, at this point, we're waiting for feedback from the developer, and they have not submitted a final plan, so we're sort of in a holding pattern at this point. But I'm hopeful that you guys are, I'm sure you're monitoring it for us and will let us know if anything is done on those lots.
Mayor, members of council, members of the community, when I was retained as your interim city manager, the council made clear that they wanted to have a review of the activities relating to the approval and implementation of the Rancho Vista subdivision. The vehicle we're going to use to do that is a public report called the, quote, annual report, called for in the development agreement. And with the assistance of our community development director and with our engineering services and with input from our city attorney, we'll be preparing that report. I cannot tell you it's going to be next council meeting, but it will be comprehensive and it will, I hope, answer everyone's concerns.
How often does it come out?
Bet you can figure it out. Annual. It is required, it's an annual report. This would be the first annual report under that development agreement.
I was just wondering if there's a plan B in case the developer...
Hold on a second. You didn't answer my question. How often do we get a report out from an engineering firm as to what's going on at Rancho Vista? How often does that happen?
My intention is to direct our engineering services consultant to assist me in the preparation of that report, and thereafter it would happen annually.
I think
maybe I'm missing the point of the question.
I don't think annually is going to cut it. I think, hold on a sec, John. I think that, I don't know about you guys, but I think that we would like to hear on a monthly basis what's going on at Rancho Vista, and Copperleaf too. I think it should be a regular kind of thing on our agenda, a report from the city manager as to what's going on at Rancho Vista and Copperleaf on a monthly basis.
If I may add, is there a plan B, in case the developer comes back? I know we're waiting, there's a gentleman's agreement for them not to do any activity on phase 7. But is there a plan B if they come back and say they are going to build those 2 houses? And that road that is a substantial change from the original master plan that was approved by the city council and went to public review and the planning commission. Is there a plan B?
So they need an approval of a final map before they can start construction on those lots. So it's not a gentleman's agreement, it's an actual agreement that can be enforced by law, that they can't do any development out there until they have their final map. So when the final map comes in, the city engineer will take a look at it and see if it's in substantial compliance with the plans, and at that point we'll address the issue of whether the changes are substantial and they have to submit a new final map, and then that'll go back to the planning commission.
If that were the case, I thank you for mentioning that. If that was the case, why did they already grade it for the 2 lots there? Why is the grading's already there for the road into 2 lots?
So this, I know that everyone knows this, but a grading permit was issued by this city to do the grading work without having a final map approved.
By the previous city manager.
Correct.
So, since he superseded his authority, I would assume that the city attorney, on the behalf of the residents and the community, would find a way to mitigate that.
So, I don't believe that he...
Pardon?
To mitigate grading that's been done?
Well, she just said it wasn't approved. The map, what did you just say?
So the city manager did have the authority to issue a grading permit, and I know that the public is in disagreement with the grading permit that was issued, but because it's grading...
Mr. Gomes, this is not really an interaction. You can comment. We're giving you a lot of leeway here.
I appreciate that.
So please let her finish.
I just said, because it's grading, if the final map isn't approved, it can be returned to the previous condition of the property.
Okay.
It can be regraded.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
John?
Mr. Mayor, I met again, being redundant, with the city manager last Friday. As you know, I'm very passionate about this project and other projects within the city. So, what our city manager and I agreed upon is that any changes to the approved plan, that he would advise me immediately. I would communicate that to the city planning commission, and if I felt that was appropriate, elevate it to the city council. We also agreed that he would dig deep into these 2 projects. I think Ed mentioned earlier he's going to produce an annual report. I also said to Ed that wasn't sufficient, that we needed a monthly update at our planning commission meetings, and Ed was very responsive to that. So for you, members of the public, all I can say, the people on my planning commission, I'm not trying to be political, we've not approved either of the current building projects. But what we have asked on my watch is for the city manager to update us regularly on any progress.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to qualify a clarification. And the annual report that you referred to is something that's called out in the development agreement. Is that
That's right. Oh, sorry.
Yes, that's correct, and I'm proposing to use that as the vehicle for a very comprehensive report on the approvals and steps taken to date and the steps subsequent to occur, so that there is a complete story to be told, all the documentation for the benefit of the community and the council.
And that would not preclude addressing individual concerns that come up
Not at all.
by citizens or council or planning commissioners or anyone else, and it doesn't mean you're not going to be reporting to us with updates on anything that you think merits reporting. And I will say, from my standpoint, you've communicated very comprehensively and very completely and very timely. So
No, and Mr. Mayor, I think that's a very concise and correct. I think that there may be gray area regarding the other project and whether they have these same requirements, but I will tell you, I met with our city manager and I very clearly asked him to inform us of any changes with either of the two projects, and I feel confident that will happen.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
I just have a real quick comment. Is this item on the agenda? I can't find it.
It's part of the...
Part of the report.
I think we're straying a little.
Part of,
I don't, Bob. We're covering it on the administrative report because it relates to complaints. Bob, I'm talking now. This is my time to talk. We talked about this before.
Okay, you guys, quit fighting.
Ed, the city manager was addressing concerns. Now we're having follow-up questions. That's perfectly within the bounds of the agenda. Any other questions or comments, any other public comment related to the administrative report? Anything from the council, further from the council?
Yeah, I had a comment, but it looks like we have some public side.
Yes, sir.
David Medeiros from 1026 First Street.
Yes.
Yeah, a question. When we see the city planning commission coming forward to the city council, was the planning commission given authorization to set things up in this manner? Was this something that was brought before the city council to say that planning commission should be going out and talking to the city manager and putting a report together? Was this something consensus with the government here? Was this legally processed? Are we just going out there and saying, hey, Ed, this is what we want from you? Is this something in consensus with the authorization through the city council and through legal? That's all I ask.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there was anything improper by having a...
Nothing about proper, I'm just talking about, was it done?
No, please. Does anybody have any other comments or questions? Any comment on this? No? Okay, thank you.
So can I get back to Mark?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize.
So, as to the city of San Juan Bautista, I would love to hear a report on a monthly basis as to how these two developments are doing. I think you would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, depending on what's going on.
Just like a status report?
Sure.
And I don't know if you do that under the guise of some kind of annual report, or I don't know how you do that, Ed, but I would love to be able to hear on a monthly basis of how two developments are doing. Are they complying with this? Are they doing that? What's going on? Just a status update. These are big developments for this town.
So, Mayor, members of the council, we are prepared to give you a monthly status report. I caution you that it will not be the comprehensive report that I spoke of earlier.
Right.
Soup to nuts, the so-called annual report that would address questions that some of the members of the public speculated about, but would not be in the monthly update of whether or not they finished 5 streets or 6 lots, but rather would be in the comprehensive report that we envision.
Okay. It would be my expectation, however, that if there is a problem, that would be an opportunity for you to identify the problem.
That's absolutely clear to me.
Thank you. Anything else? No. Okay, moving right along. Action items.
You skipped the strategic plan report.
Did I?
Yes, you
didn't have one, did we?
I can give a short one.
That'd be great.
Okay, so this Saturday from 8 to 12, we're going to have Makes a Difference Day. So far, we have 45 people signed up with hopefully some more from Anzar High. We have a limit of somewhere around 50, so we think we're doing pretty well. But we encourage you to come out anyway, or please, and help clean up the city. We will have certain areas of the city we're all going to concentrate on: Community Center, City Hall, 3rd Street, Downtown Historical District, Abbey Park, possibly the underpass or overpass, whichever one you want to call it, at Washington. And we'll make the city look great again. Thank you.
Any questions?
Saturday.
This Saturday.
This Saturday.
What time?
8 a.m. I'm sorry.
Where are we meeting?
At the library.
The library.
Yes.
Okay.
There's only one library in town.
Good point. Okay. Action items. Looks like the change to the Youth Commission is an ordinance, so we'll be continuing that till November. And the second one is consider amendment to the interim city manager contract increasing hours. And this, you had suggested that we push this off, but
That was not my item.
no, it was mine, but
it was mine originally.
Yeah, John's
Originally.
And I asked that we added. It is.
So in our current agreement, based on an analysis that had been given to you on September 19th, the council limited the hours of 30 to 32 hours a week. I think it's clearly more than that, and if the council wants to recognize that, that'd be appropriate.
So I would say up to 44.
I wouldn't say any more than 40.
Okay, 40.
No problem.
You good with that?
Yep. Yeah, I know he's putting in more than he's getting paid for already.
Yeah.
I see him wandering around town.
Tripping on sidewalks.
Yeah, I just want to understand what we're talking about right now. So, you charge by the hour?
Yes, I'm not a salaried employee. I charge by the hour.
And what you're saying is that you therefore want more hours. You want us, like this vote right now, would be to increase the amount of hours, right?
Under the current, you have an employment contract with me as your interim city manager, and it provides that I'll be paid an hourly rate for no more than 32 hours per week. I believe the mayor's proposal is to increase that to 40 hours a week.
That's correct.
From 32 to 40?
Yes.
So I just want to add that I drafted the contract, and I sort of made it a hybrid contract because I made it almost like an employment agreement. So when you increase the hours to 40, Mr. Tweez will not get overtime under that contract. So he's just going to be working as a regular full-time employee, and the contract allows for that. I kind of anticipated that that was going to happen, so it's kind of a hybrid contract.
Okay.
So, Deb, do we have to be mindful of the amount of hours that Ed spends under the current contract and what you have drafted?
Not really, because he doesn't get overtime, and so I classified him as a exempt employee. So he's exempt from overtime provisions, so we don't really have to look at, unless he goes under, and then you're worried about that, because he's assuring he'll work up to 40 plus hours now.
So the motion that's before the city council tonight What's that?
It's not a motion yet.
Not a motion yet.
So therefore, there's no need to decide anything?
No, what he's saying is no motion has been made as yet. The suggestion is that we amend the contract to allow a maximum of 40 hours to be paid.
Okay, I get that, but is there a need for city council action on anything right now? If there's not, then why are we talking about it?
So at the last meeting, you limited the hours to, what was it, 32 or 33?
32.
And that was specifically stated in the contract with Mr. Tweez. So it would be an action to amend the contract. I think this is just a discussion item tonight.
There is an action before the city council tonight.
Yeah.
No,
I want to make a motion if you're...
You're going to direct me to come back with an amendment for you. It doesn't say amendment on this tonight.
What's that?
Come in and sober.
I'm not sure why you're having a hard time with
It says consider an amendment,
They
so...
really are, because everybody else in the room is getting it, so you're not.
So why don't we just put a motion on the table?
And if you have an issue, please address it specifically.
I don't have an issue. What I would like is the whole thing to be stated clearly. What is the ask?
He didn't ask for anything. I have suggested that we increase it.
I'm not asking. What is before the city council tonight?
So if you're uncomfortable, it says consider amendment to the agreement. What you can do is direct me to draft the amendment, and I can bring it back to you for final approval at the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks,
The
right?
action before the city council is amendment to the employment contract for Ed Tweez.
Right, and
from so many hours to so many hours.
right. I know. Just visually imagine I have the contract there, and it says 32 hours, and we're just changing that to 40 hours.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would support that. And why is that before the city council right now? Because you are the motion maker then on that?
No. Anyone? The mayor. That's me. I asked.
All
to just
due
be
respect, point of order, I think that adjournment right now would be very, very wise. Please do that. This is getting embarrassing, and I think that the citizens of this city deserve a lot more than what we're getting, and we're being exposed to right now.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. John? Not adjourning the meeting. Yes, we are.
No, I'm not in favor. We got a long agenda to do. I don't want to wait.
We have 3
Okay.
hours.
Fine.
I'd like a roll call vote, please. Is there any reason we can't do this?
No.
I think we're done for the evening.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
No.
Councilmember DeVries?
No.
Vice Mayor West?
Yes.
Mayor Monterano?
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.